Explain like I'm 5. How did fossil fuels damn the world? I learned about coral reef deaths in 7th grade. I'm now 30. What exactly is the science? I know greenhouse gases heat us up, but in layman's terms, what happened? And why did it happen? I live in a rural area and work a blue-collar job. My coworkers all think it's fake, even though I point out current world events. I don't exactly understand it myself exactly, but I know it's real. Explain like I'm 5, please. There is an interesting aspect to point out. The CO2 content of the atmosphere is actually very low. It's now 421 parts per million ppm, or about 0.042. In pre-industrial times, it was 280 ppm, 0.028. By 1950, it had only risen to 310 ppm. Those making climate denial arguments in bad faith will try to tell you CO2 has only increased by 0.14. Do not be fooled by this idiocy. The increase is 50. Excess carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is like a blanket over the Earth that warms things. Terms of coral reefs, a lot of the excess County 2 gets absorbed by the oceans, increasing acidity. There already is a great example. The planet Venus's runaway greenhouse effect makes it the hottest planet in the solar system despite being the second closest from the Sun. Venus's atmosphere is primarily carbon dioxide. It's amazing that so many people think man-made climate change is fake. For literally over 100 years, long before anyone was getting research grants from the government. Can't believe some people are dim enough to believe that is a driver. Scientists have known and made public the fact that adding carbon to the atmosphere creates climate change. For anyone to believe that this is some sort of conspiracy is an incomprehensible level of ignorance about how the world works. I learned about coral reef deaths in 7th grade. I'm now 30. That's how, by doing little about it after we learned that we need to do something. Plants spent hundreds of thousands of millions years. This answer is great. But the above number is too big. You may have just meant it as a turn of phrase. In reality, the great oxygenation event caused by blue-green algae was 2.4 billion years ago. Hundreds of thousands of millions is hundreds of billions. The damnation is this: there is enough oil in the ground to make the Earth uninhabitable. What happened? We discovered oil's usefulness and started building our modern world around this. Until we are very dependent on it. Why it's happening? A great amount of money, power, and convenience comes from use of oil. No one wants to give that up, and it seems we are willing to slowly boil ourselves rather than show some restraint. All the above is basically correct. Additionally, fossil fuels are disrupting the balance of carbon dioxide production versus absorption. So there is more CO2 in the atmosphere now than ever before. The saddest part is if the US government didn't think cannabis was the boogeyman. Hemp-based fuels could have been used, which are far better for the environment. I am not really convinced that electric cars are the answer given how much needs to go into mining the materials, and it will generate more e-waste to deal with. Along with most electricity is generated with fossil fuels anyway. It's kind of like thinking cows are cute but still eating a steak because you aren't the one killing it. If you can access iPlayer, then the series Earth explains it really well. From way back when basic life terraformed the planet to the creation of coal and oil deposits and the natural swings between extremes due to sudden changes like volcanism, asteroid-comet strike, new types of life, and the current massive release of CO2. It didn't. In fact, did the exact opposite, allowing humanity to realize unrealized technological potential. Coral Reef is doing just fine. Great Barrier Reef is highest since records began and often grows fastest in warmest waters. Fossil fuels have powered the world. Without them we'd have mass poverty like we did all throughout human history before they were discovered and utilized. The world is not damned. We could Manhattan Project our way out of this in a decade while improving the standard of living of everyone on Earth. The world is being murdered by greedy men and it is up to us to stop them. Every year that passes, the toll we pay for allowing this greed to continue increases, but we don't know the upper limit of the destruction. What I am saying is this: now is always the time to do something about this. We can reverse it. I would be eager to see actual research that genuinely proves man-made global heating. Could you share some? Everyone thinks it's fake as we have ice ages and heat death and extinction events, but you have to be dumb to not think all the pollution is making it worse and accelerating it. Some people think, why should we care if it's going to happen anyway, but these things happen over 100,000 ds of years. We may be talking having a world for another 10 or 20 generations and more time to solve our problems. When a car sits all day in the sun with the windows rolled up, it gets very hot inside. The windows let sunlight in, but they don't let the heat out. Greenhouse gases in the atmosphere work much the same way. They're like invisible blankets, letting sunlight in because they're invisible, but keeping the heat in because they're blankets. Have you heard the story of the boiling frog? Here's what I would tell them. Long ago the earth was a giant rainforest. As the plentiful trees died, the decaying wood lay on the forest floor. This decaying wood turned into coal, which is now buried below the surface. At one time the coal lay on the surface covered by more decaying wood. We don't know if lightning or a volcano caused a mass burning of the coal laying on the surface of the forest floor. We do know it wiped out most of the life on Earth. The dinosaurs never saw it coming. What's your excuse? Money and greed. Next question.